Vad är det som händer i Tyskland egentligen? Den nya förbundskanslern Friedrich Merz, ja, han klarade inte den första valomgången men blev sedan vald till förbundskansler i en andra valomgång. Riks har tagit kontakt med Beatrix von Storch som är vice gruppledare för Alternativ för Tyskland för att gå igenom vad händer i tysk politik just nu. Beatrix von Storch, vice chairman of the Bundestag for the AFD. Could you please tell our viewers what's going on in German politics right now? Friedrich Merz lost the first election to become chancellor, but then a second vote, he was able to gain the power. What should we make of this?
Well, what the world now knows, it has been proven yesterday, is that he does not have a stable government. He does not have a stable majority in the parliament. He already failed in the first round. So he didn't even manage to get all of his own members in the Bundestag behind him and back his government. That was a very clear signal to him from probably both sides of their group. So that means from the left part of the so-called Social Democrats and from the more conservative wing of the so-called conservative Christian Democratic Union, CDU. Both are unhappy with what the deal has been between those two to bring the coalition together. And the majority they have in the parliament is formally already very small. It's only 10 votes ahead of what they need to have a majority. That means if they decide anything critical, if they have to go into compromise, to do anything what has not yet been pre-negotiated, they will lose that majority. And that means the upcoming government, what we are facing now here in Germany, will be technically unable to solve any kind of problems. They will be unable to make any kind of decision which is not backed by both sides of this government. That means Merz does rely specifically on the left part of the Social Democrats, and they are openly campaigning in favor of open borders, more migrants, you know, welcome Islam to our cities, adapt our culture to something else, and so forth. They are heavily on the Vogue agenda. They want to fund all those so-called non-governmental organizations with billions of euros. Everything what has to be abolished, everything what has to be stopped, everything that has to be changed, they want more of that. And on the other hand, there are some, not so many, but some in the CDU party who really want to have a shift in policy. They want to have a different direction for the government to go when it comes to nuclear power plants, for migration, border control, all this kind of policy areas. They really want to have something else. They want to have something which they only can implement with the help of AFD. They need us to, our program, AFD, to go to a different direction. And they are also unhappy to be stuck behind the firewall, which has been set up by Merz and the CDU party. They're very unhappy about it. And so these two groups, they will not be able to come up with something of common sense.
If you look historically on German politics, a gross coalition, a grand coalition, such as what we're seeing right now, this has been the ordinary part of German politics since after the war, basically. What do you think now that we have this grand coalition and they're barely keeping it together? They have a small majority. If we go back a couple of years, Merkel had an enormously large amount of mandates in the parliament. Now it's shrinking, and a party such as the AFD is increasing. And if you look at some of the recent polls right now, you're the largest party in German politics. Do you think we see the end of the grand coalition times in German politics, where we have the two big establishment parties more or less dictating the course for German politics? Or what's your take? What's going to be the future for this type of development in German politics?
We should first begin in stopping calling this a grand coalition. It is not. Every government needs a majority in the parliament, but not every government is a grand coalition. A grand coalition means if the Social Democrats, might have 40% and the Christian Democrats have 40%, and then they have got 80% together, that's a grand coalition. But what they have is a very small coalition with a tiny little majority in the parliament, 12 votes out of 630 votes. That's their majority. So it's not a grand coalition. And this is something new for Germany now. We used to have, clear majorities in the parliament, and this is now shrinking. That's true. Why is it? Because our numbers are growing. People support AFD more every day, and this is why but even though we're going up, they are building a firewall between us and them, which means they are stuck behind the firewall. They try to make search majorities on their side of the firewall, which is getting smaller and smaller because we are getting bigger and bigger. So they now rely already on the votes of the far left extremists. They reached the parliament again, the former SED, the party of the GDR, which has just been relabeled. It's the same party ever since. Those who killed people who wanted to leave the GDR, the Mauerschützenpartei, Mauermörderpartei, that's what we call them. And so CDU already is in talks with them to make sure that they never ever rely on one single vote of AFD. And this is a shift to German politics. This is new to German politics. And what would be needed, and this is what we are not used to in Germany, most likely we would need a minority government. So that, you know how that works. Denmark knows how that works. Germany doesn't. We are not used to this form of government, where a government does not have its own majority in the parliament for every political area, but they have to, try and look for partners for every single topic. And that's the problem. And what we can see in the German parliament, there is a very stable majority when it comes to migration, when it comes to economy, when it comes to energy. CDU and AFD together could do what is necessary for the country. We could do what the CDU wants to do, what they had been campaigning on in the last campaign before the federal election took place in 23rd of February. There is a majority, but CDU does not want to use it. So they rather compromise with the Social Democrats and the left part of the Social Democrats, which means they cannot deliver what they promised before the election, and this is the bad thing. We should go into minority government. AFD should tolerate the Christian Democrats when it comes to internal politics. That's possible. When it comes to foreign policy, that's far more difficult, because we are not in line with the CDU there on that area. But many problems we are facing at the very moment in Germany could be solved. It's just not, it's technically impossible because they are building up this firewall even higher every day.
But if we look at German politics, and Friedrich Merz and the Christian Democratic Party were, at least before the last election, they were outspoken critics of the mass immigration. You had a lot of terror attacks during your election campaigns going on. But 24 hours after he was elected, or he won the election, he shifted on it, said, no, we're not going to have this harsh or a more restrictive immigration policy. It's going to keep on being open borders, more or less. How do they motivate this for their own, the people that have voted for the CDU, that want a restricted immigration, that they keep on, as you said, they work with the socialist parties, the social democratic parties, left wing, where Germany keeps on having more or less open borders. How do they motivate that for their own voters that want a restrictive immigration to Germany?
Well, this is what has been reflected already by the polls which took place after the election and after these coalition talks and after people realizing, those who voted for Merz and the Christian Democratic Union, they are heavily disappointed because they now they start being aware of what they can expect from this government in the policy area of migration, for example, and they know nothing can be expected, nothing which has been promised by Merz before the election. So they are very, very disappointed, and this is why ever since the coalition talks are over, basically on the evening of the election already, and they realized that the CDU will give in all those areas just to get the votes of the Social Democrats and the far left of the Social Democrats, who are openly favoring open borders. You know, no nation, no border. They're very close to this idea, and so the numbers of the CDU ever since is going down, numbers of AFD ever since are going up, because people realize that that was a lie. It was just a big, huge lie, and what the CDU was campaigning on, and this makes the situation even more unstable, because they know that if there will be an election now, this government, which is now in office for 1 day, so this is today the first day, if there would be an election right now, they wouldn't have the majority any longer. Not even a small one. They lost it already, because people want something else. And this can only be delivered if AFD is included into the government. And this means that the firewall, which they are trying to, build up by the day, has to be broken down.
And if we look at previously, during the last period in German politics, there was call to ban the AFD, and recently the domestic spy agency of Germany has labeled you a threat to the constitution, and now they're allowed to, or if you perhaps could explain, when you're branded as a threat to the constitution of Germany, what methods are the domestic spy agencies allowed to use against your party right now? If we start there, if you shortly could summarize, what can you do now?
So the government the last government, on their last day in office, when they have been already been voted out of office, but were still holding office because the new government, only took over yesterday. At their last day in office, the government declared that AFD is an extremistic organization and has to be observed by the Secret Service and by the internal domestic spy agency, as you said, which is the government. Even more, they have been doing so the last years already. It's nothing new. They are reading our mails. They are checking on our mobiles. They're listening to what we're talking, probably even right now. They have done so in the past already, because we were under scrutiny. And now they say, now we know this is an extremistic organization. We have got written everything together. It's 1,000 pages, and there are the proofs. But we won't show these proofs. We just publish our conclusion. And the conclusion of our proofs, which we will not provide, is they are an extremistic organization. So we should start talking about banning the party as a whole, without delivering any proof. They can't have any proof, that they don't have any, but they don't even provide it. And we might only be able to check what's in their document when they take the next steps. Or we are going against it at the court. We file lawsuits. That's what we're doing at the very moment. But the public debate should stop. There's nothing yet on the table. And we know another document which they showed years ago, where they started this whole process. We were going against it at the court also, so we filed lawsuits already. They are still ongoing. They have not yet been decided finally, so they should have waited for the result of the former document and things they did against us. But they don't. They just keep, they just keep going. And now they're talking about maybe we can't ban them within half a year or a few months. But what we could do is we could stop financing them because parties in Germany, they are also not only, but also funded by the state. Every party receives some money from the state. So we could stop funding them, and then we could stop, allowing them to participate in the parliament 100%. That's what they're doing. They did in the past already. So we're not 100% participating in all parliamentary decisions and the parliamentary processes. We're excluded from that, even though we've been elected by millions of people. Our numbers doubled from the last federal election. They're excluding us, and they declare this democracy. They declare the option of banning the opposition party, saving democracy. That's, one can say that's funny, but it's not funny, it's dangerous.
But do you think that since the last period they gave a push, it was about 100 members of the Bundestag that were pushing a ban on the AFD, do you think this will reinvigorate them to try to push this even more aggressively to actually try to ban the largest opposition party? And well, as we can see in the polls, that you're the largest German party in the pollings right now. Do you think they will actually do a maneuver this upcoming 4 years to try to actually ban you guys before the next general election?
100%, yes. This is what they do. We have a public debate on this already, and when you start debating something, then it's on the table, unless you stop the debate. But as long as you debate it, it's on the table, and then some give their opinion in favor and some against. But as we all know, you shift the public opinion by starting a debate about something which has been unthinkable before. But debating the unthinkable means to admit it's possible, the unthinkable.
And a final question, how do you see about the future of the Friedrich Merz government? Will it be able to be chancellor for the entire next 4 years here, or it's going to be an unstable government? What's your take on that? How do you predict the future of this new German chancellor?
I will take any kind of bet. They will not fulfill four years of their term. It is 100% unstable. This has been proven on the first day when they tried to elect Merz as a chancellor. He was missing 18 votes of his own group by only having a 12 votes majority. So he was lacking 6 votes for this very easy question: do you want to have him as a chancellor or not? So that was a very openly published or openly shown distrust to Merz as a person, to the government as a whole, and this will be the burden for the next months to come. As I just said, I do not believe that they can serve for 4 years. They are much too unstable for normal government in normal times. But we don't live in normal times. We need severe decisions to be taken. We need a 180-degree change of direction in some very important political areas, and they have to go into sharp compromise on their political lines, and they are unable to do so. They are unable to do so. So this government will not last for 4 years, I'm sure.
Thank you so much, Beatrix von Storch, member of the Bundestag and a parliamentary member of the Alternative for Deutschland. Thank you so much for commenting on what's going on in Germany right now.
Thank you for having me.